Hey everybody, this is Charlie, the Pennsylvania grain farmer, coming to you from humid western Pennsylvania. For me, it's still Thursday, July the 4th, 2024. It's probably several days or a week for you because this is part two of a two-part video. But for me, it's just a couple of minutes. And what I'm doing in these two videos, besides sipping on a Mike's Harder strawberry pineapple drink, and I suggest that you sit in a comfy chair and sip on the beverage of your choice right now. What I'm doing is giving you the history of Oliver tractors so far. Now, in that first part, you might say, well, there were really no Olivers mentioned. Well, no, because we didn't become an Oliver farm until the mid-1950s, and my last video only went up to the like 1952 when my parents were married, and just 2 years before they had bought the Farmall C brand new that I had shown you earlier. So we're going to pick up that story at that point as I walk in between the Olivers. I actually have more room than normal in my red shed here because I've taken out the hay equipment other than the baler, so it gives me a little bit more space and everything isn't quite so crammed together. But we stopped with the purchase of that Farmall C. Now, around 1954, apparently my dad decided that the Farmall C and the Farmall H weren't enough. They were still baling hay, or not baling hay, but harvesting hay with a hay loader and a wagon that was, putting loose hay in the barn, and they wanted to get a baler and wanted to pull a combine and stuff like that, and a decent sized one. So I think they felt that the H wasn't big enough as the big horse. So in 1954, which was a year before I was born, they bought this Oliver 77, and I'm sorry that I can't get a better video of it just because of the way everything is packed in here right now. But they bought this Oliver 77 brand new from the local Oliver dealership. This was actually a hybrid tractor because 1954 was the year they switched over to the Super Series. Like, they were all making the Super 77s. However, they must have had some frames and bodies left over from the 77s and not as many engines, because basically what this is, and it came from the factory this way, is it's an Oliver 77 body and frame with a Super 77 engine in it. And that was verified by my mechanic friend Joe, who completely restored this tractor back in 1996. And he told me, he says, yes, this is definitely a super engine that was in it. But that was the way it came. So they must have not had enough, the regular Oliver 77 engines for the number of frames they had, so they had to put some super engines into the leftover 77 frames. Okay, and that's what this tractor is. So this tractor is older than me. We have been the only owner of this tractor. It's been on this farm all my life, and if I have anything to say to it or say about it, it's going to be here for the rest of my life. And I've always joked to my friends, this tractor will outlast me on this farm. But it's been a good one. And if for some reason I had to get rid of all my tractors, this would be the last one to go, just because it's very special. Some people don't understand how a person can get attached, not so much just to regular farm equipment, but to tractors. I can attest to the fact that when you have farming in your blood like I do, tractors become just like a member of the family. And thinking about getting rid of one of them would be just like getting rid of one of your siblings or one of your kids. It's just not something that you want to do. So this has been a great tractor for us. So we got that in 1950, or my parents got it in 1954. And my mother told me in 1996, which is when my buddy Joe redid this tractor completely, when he was bringing it back here after it was done, he had repainted the whole thing too, in addition to restoring it mechanically. He was afraid he wouldn't get his truck and trailer turned around up here, so he backed it up our driveway. And my mother heard him. She was looking out the window. The tractor was turned so that the grill was facing the house, and she said the way the sun was hitting that grill and the way she could see it, she started to cry, because she said it was just like 1954 for her all over again. And that's something I'll never forget. So that tractor has been here all my life, just like that little farm all see back there. Now, after that, we didn't do much with, but in any event, this was the next tractor that we bought. In the early 60s and mid 60s, you know, the Oliver 77 was our big tractor and the C was our little one. And we experimented with some tractors that were in between, specifically a couple of John Deeres. I think we had an A and a B, but although some people love them, I know, they just really didn't suit our needs, and we didn't like them that well. And so my dad ended up buying an Oliver 66, which we don't have, because in 1967 we traded that tractor on this one. Now that was the reason why I bought an Oliver 66 2 years ago, was because ever since we had one when I was a kid, I always wanted to have one again. But we needed a tractor that was bigger, for a bigger plow and bigger disc and bigger everything else. So in 1967 we traded that Oliver 66 in on this Oliver 1550, which we bought a brand new. So that was the third new tractor on the farm. The C was the first, the 77 was the second, and this 1550 was the third and actually the last. Now over to the right here, I won't get any closer, you can see that's the original dealership sticker, and I won't get closer because I don't really want you to read it. And beside that is the original certification sticker that were Oliver certified that this tractor had 53 horsepower, which is what it was supposed to have. So this tractor has spent its whole life on the farm. Okay, so that was the second Oliver that my dad bought. And then the third Oliver, it took a little while, but the third Oliver was this 1650, which you've seen in many videos. Now this we bought used in 1983 from a somewhat local used equipment dealer who was just getting into business and didn't have all the mechanical stuff quite down yet, but he had this tractor and it wasn't quite running right, so he was in a hurry to sell it. My dad went up and looked at it, had a pretty good idea what was wrong with it, but didn't say that. So they made a deal. The dealer brought it down, backed it off the trailer. My dad made a couple adjustments. He already paid for it and had a signed receipt, and made a couple adjustments, and the tractor ran like a clock and has pretty much done so ever since. In the year 2000, my buddy Joe completely restored this tractor, but now I guess you'd say it still looks pretty good, as does my 77, but they're both kind of in their work clothes because these are working tractors. Now unfortunately my dad only got to use this tractor for, that was 1983, for about 5 years, because in 1987 he was diagnosed with cancer. In 1988 he became physically incapacitated, I guess you'd say, and that's when I took over farming solely on my own. So I've used this tractor, you know, obviously way more than he did, but it's been a good tractor, and for a long time, up from 1983 up until 2017, this was our big horse, the primary tillage tractor, and anything else that required bigger horsepower. Now since then I did add a couple more Olivers. Right beside the 1550 here you'll see my my Oliver Super 70, or I'm sorry, my Oliver Super 88. I can't film and talk at the same time for some reason. I bought this tractor off of eBay in 2017. That's when I retired from my off the farm job, and I guess you could say this was my graduation present for myself. And I know that I've featured this tractor in a number of videos over the years. This tractor was made in 1957, and I got it in 2017 when it was 50 years old. And then one of my dreams really came true in 2022 whenever I bought this. And this is my Oliver 66, which you remember I got 2 years ago, and I did some videos on it and how I repainted it and everything, but I always wanted one. Obviously, this is a 1952 model, so it was 55 years old whenever I bought it, but, or no, 65 years old when I bought it. Yeah, 65 years old when I bought it. But it was worth every penny, and I really love this tractor. And even though it's you know, in basically parade ready condition, I do use it for light work like raking and tedding hay. It's a perfect size tractor for that. Also, back in 2017, in addition to the 1957 Super 88 Oliver, I also bought this because I was retiring from my off the farm job. I was going to have more time to put towards farming, since that's all I was going to be doing. So I had about 15 acres of pasture land that was tillable, that wasn't too wet, and it hadn't been farmed for over 65 years. Not, it had been pastured, but it hadn't been in any kind of crops for as long as my parents had owned it, you know, back until and even before 1952. And that's what my mother had told me when I, you know, plowed those 15 acres. She said in the years that, going back to 1952, since she had been there, she had never seen them plowed. Excuse me. But in any event, because I knew that, you know, extra acreage and stuff was coming, I figured I needed to get a bigger tillage tractor, and, you know, end up with some bigger tillage tools, which I did, a bigger plow and a bigger disc. So in 2017, I bought this white 2110. And again, if you go to my channel, I did a video on this a couple years ago. This tractor came out of Kansas, and the reason the guy was selling it was because he was getting older and he wasn't able to get up into it very easily. So he decided to sell it, and sold it on consignment at a dealership there in Kansas. And I found it on Tractor House, and talked to the dealer a couple times. He took some video, took some pictures of some things, and we agreed on a price. I bought it, got it hauled out here by a he was an over 80-year-old man that that hauled this tractor here from Kansas on a pickup truck and a trailer. And when I got the tractor, everything was just the way it was supposed to be. And that's what's cool about this tractor, is everything works. All the lights, the AC, the heat, everything works on it. And it's been, in the 7 years that I've owned it, a really good tractor. And then last year, in 2023, I purchased this, which is my 770. I didn't have, that was one thing I didn't have in my collection here, was a 3-digit tractor. So this became available out in Ohio. This Super 88 was actually from the state of Indiana, but this tractor was available in Ohio. I went out and looked at it and made the purchase, and that's been a good tractor too. This is going to become my primary baling tractor, and you know, take those duties off the 77, because this will have a little, with the way I have it weighed down, it'll have a little more weight and a little more horsepower. And then finally, you may remember that over this past winter, I purchased this white Oliver backhoe. Now, according to the books that I was given with it, this was purchased in 1969, and it's what it basically is an Oliver 550 tractor with a, I believe it's a 588 loader and the 13LL loader on it. They call it a 244 because it's two-wheel drive and 44 horsepower, but it is just essentially an Oliver 550 tractor. So my buddy wanted to sell this. I wasn't really looking for a backhoe, but you don't see too many of these, so I thought that it was a good idea to make the buy. Okay, and so that pretty much tells you the history in a nutshell of all of my Oliver tractors. So I'm going to end it here. I hope you enjoyed this. I made this for people like Ross and also another good friend of mine, Nelson, down at IP Farms in North Carolina. I know that he loves the history of things, and that's what he emphasizes in some of his videos. So Nelson, this is also made for you, buddy. So I appreciate you hanging in here till the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I hope you'll hit the like button and consider subscribing if you already haven't. And if you have subscribed, I appreciate that very much. Don't forget to leave me a comment or ask me a question. So for now, this is Charlie, the Pennsylvania grain farmer, saying, see you next time.